Hey everyone, it's Daz. So, it is here. The Sega Nomad 2.0, because the first one sucked ass and is now gone. So anyway, this is the new one that just came in. And you're probably asking yourself, why the hell is there a ghost can here? And this is because many of the people who are watching are from Europe, and you guys never got the Sega Nomad. And so I'm putting it there for scale. Obviously, that's taller than a normal can. Do you guys even have tall cans like that in Britain? Now that I've started this, it's becoming painfully clear that this was a bad form of reference. And you're probably asking, why are there Shriekers, Skittles, candy here? And that is because I was eating them. So this is the Sega Nomad. It is pretty light on its own. This one, however, is not light. This is quite the chunker, and I'll go over that in a second as to why. As you can see though, the Sega logo is not rubbing off. That's a plus. The last one I had was like worn away right here. All of this is nice and pretty looking. These buttons feel like really good, and these buttons feel really good. And in fact, the entire shell, I've noticed, has that rough grit texture to it that you like to feel, whereas the one that I got rid of was kind of glossy, as if like it had been highlighted from someone using it for a really long time. So on one hand, it was well loved. On the other hand, it was a piece of shit. So yeah, anyway, we'll pull this off to the side. As you can see, the Sega Nomad has oval buttons. These oval buttons were the only device in which they were installed. You had round buttons on every other Genesis controller. This is, after all, a Genesis, but I think the oval buttons were just there to keep the profile fairly slim. You also have a really unique D-pad here. It is, what would that be, concave, and feels good. I won't lie, feels really good. This actually feels even better than the first one, so that's great. Up here, you have a cartridge slot. Maybe. There we go. With a proper dust flap, just like a real Genesis. You're probably thinking, well, who cares? Think about it. Game Boy, does it have a dust flap? No. Game Boy Advance? No. Game Boy Color? No. Even a Game Gear doesn't have one, so this is pretty cool. Keeps your internal nice and dust-free. To the left of that, you have your DC power. If you're wondering what it takes a DC power. No, it takes this AC adapter, which looks comically large in frame. There we go. And yeah, it would be the same one, I believe, as a Sega Genesis 2. Also, conveniently, is the same one used in a Game Gear. So if you have a Game Gear already, you don't need to buy another AC adapter. Other than that, it's just an AC adapter. Who cares? This weird, very industrial-looking red switch is actually your power switch. That is stock. That's actually what it's supposed to look like. It never quite looked finished to me. If you know what a Game Gear looks like, that looks much more complete. Up here, you have AV out. And this is still working, despite the system mods, which we'll go over. And yeah, so you can plug that in using the Model 2 AV cables for a Genesis, and it'll play on your TV. Now you're probably asking yourself, well, how the hell does that work? What happens if I want to play Streets of Rage with my friend? Well, that is what this controller port is for. Now, unfortunately, you can't use that as player 1. So if you're hoping to like just have this sit here and play on the screen or play on the TV with a Genesis controller in your hand, it's just not going to happen. Some people have modded theirs so that they put like a control port up top, so that's possible, but that is not a mod this one enjoys. This is strictly for player 2. As you can see, it says control 2. It does work with all sorts of manner of goodies though. So if you have a game that uses a Genesis mouse, it'll work there, so long as it works with player 2. Anyway, past that, you have a brightness knob. This is LCD IPS modded, the screen, so that actually doesn't do anything. I think on later models, sometimes it still does, but not on mine. And then over here, you have a volume knob, which still works, which is good. And then you have a headphone jack, normal headphone jack. Now, stock, this thing, the reason why it's so light, it doesn't hold any batteries. It's quite hollow. Not cheap, but feels light. However, what makes it a bit of a chonk is that its battery pack goes on the outside of the system, and it clips on like so. You have these little grooves, little connections back there. So if you want to play it with just the AC adapter, you can, and then the system's nice and light. Or you can just do this. I'm doing this on camera. You'll have to forgive me. Whatever. I think that's on. We'll see later. And it's on. Okay. Now this, as you can tell, is a 3D printed battery pack. So what is different about this than the stock one? So there were two stock ones. One was a rechargeable pack. And most people got that one because, well, paying for 6 AA's to burn out within like 1 to 2 hours was not really economical. So the rechargeable battery pack is just like a normal everyday, modern day rechargeable battery pack, and you just recharge it. I think it lasted a few hours, and then that was it. However, all those are basically dead now. Well, not basically, they are. Some people have opened them up. Unfortunately, you can't just like unscrew them. They're glued, so you have to like cut them open. And some people have put modern day battery solutions inside, but it's basically a giant pain in the ass, and it's not recommended unless you really know what you're doing. And then you add a typical battery pack like I was hinting at before, which is 6 AA's. And, well, good luck to your wallet, because that's going to be really pricey. Laser Bear Industries makes this, though. Oh. And anyway, so you can charge it 2 ways. He does sell one with just USB-C charging, but then he makes one like this, which is often not in stock. And it wasn't in stock when I first got my first Nomad, and then it was. And that allows you to also plug in the stock AC adapter, like, there we go, like so. And if that was plugged in, and if I put that in all the way, that little light right there would turn red. But I'm not going to do that because I'm filming. And then it would charge. Now you're probably asking, well, what's inside here? That's a valid question, and I will show you. So, maybe, there we go. Inside, you have these giant things. Now, again, hard to tell with scale on a YouTube video. These are not AA's in size. So you're not just gonna go and, get some lithium rechargeable AA's and slap them in there and be good to go. These things are actually quite large. They are lithium rechargeable batteries meant for like high-end flashlights. and they come in a container that looks like this. MAH is basically the capacity. He recommends not to go past 3,800, I believe, or 30. I think well, it might have been 3,500. We talked, me and Mr. Bear, and he said that that would be fine. So I'm not damaging anything. If you want to take note of the model number, I would recommend these. These are literally like best of the best, top of the line. You want to buy these. So Nightcore, they're often not in stock, but keep trying. That's my advice. They're not on Amazon. Do not buy any batteries on Amazon. There's not a single reputable name on Amazon for these frickin' type of batteries, man. It's just not worth your time. They're all from China, and many of them have problems. As you can see here, maybe, see how it says protected? That's kind of important. So basically there is a circuit board in each battery, okay? And that circuit board prevents overcharging. So if, in the case of these, you're supposed to charge them about 5 hours for a full charge, right? Well, let's say you, fall asleep while it's charging, and you wake up and it's now 10 hours later. If you get those cheap Chinese batteries from Amazon, these might have exploded, or at the very best, burn out. These, however, will enable the current to just flow through them because they're fully charged, and it won't prematurely wear the battery or damage the device. Win-win, right? The other good thing is that this is no longer a sealed unit like the original rechargeable battery. The battery pack. So if you want to, after 500 recharges of this thing, you can just go in there and replace the batteries, and you're good to go. You don't need to buy new housing. And that is the Sega Nomad. So let's get this going. I have a cheap, well, not too cheap, to be fair. This is not Chinesium. Well, it's part Chinesium, but it's Chinesium with a nice coat of paint. So this is a clone EverDrive, and except with like a proper SD card and a nice housing. That's the best way to put it. So we'll put this in here. I hate these EverDrives because, like, there we go. All right. By the way, if you're considering the Laser Bear Industries battery pack, there is a nice little function that it has, which is if you plug it in, which I'm going to do for you here on second thought. If you plug it in and decide to play off the wall, it won't ruin your batteries, and it'll actually be able to go through the battery pack here and charge them while playing, which is nice, without the need to ever use that jack again. So if you want to prevent wear and tear from your jack, you can just do that. I'm going to disconnect it because I already know this works. So you're probably asking yourself, Daz, how come you have this wonderful, beautiful piece of plastic on here? And that is because this is all brand new, this screen, and we are going to peel it together. So ta-da! Brand new glass jewel. My God. All right. This shell and everything is just, you have no idea how much better condition this is. The other one felt a little rough. I won't lie. So yeah, let's just jump into it. Oh, I almost forgot. One last mod this has is this right here. This has a brand new amp, and the sound difference between this and the previous one is literally night and day. This thing sounds really loud and really awesome. In fact, I probably have a hard time talking over it, and I'll probably have to put the volume down. But it's not just the volume that's much improved, but the clarity and the range. You can just hear things better. So yeah, if you're gonna get one that has that mod done or do it yourself. But the audio differences is just get it done. Anyway, ready? I'm going to move the camera here so that my phone reflection isn't in the way. As you can tell, the volume is quite loud and sounds great. Okay, we're gonna move on. I'm gonna show off, maybe, there we go. Show off the speaker. Let's get a game known for its music. Not that, you know, that game was a slouch, but still. Ah, crap. I can never remember what the button layout is on this thing. I think it's start. There we go. And just in case if you're wondering, the low battery light actually does work with the Laser Bear Industries rechargeable battery pack. So you will actually know when your battery is about to die from the stock light, which is extremely convenient. By the way, I've also heard from some people that they complain that the cartridge slot is loose, and if you barely wiggle the system resets. If your system does that, something is wrong with it. This is now my second system in a row, and neither one of them have been like that. So yeah. Let's play a little bit. I'm not gonna cheapen out and just do a duo. Let me try to get my arm in a proper place here. There we go. I could keep on playing that, but anyway, I'll spare you. I want to show you something else here. Hopefully it works. I haven't tested this yet. It worked on the other one. Oh. Oh, that sucks. Okay, well apparently this one isn't modded to run Master System, which blows. Let me try one more game, just in case. That sucks. No. Okay, well, it's a simple mod, so I might get that done. But you can, it's like a soldering of a wire, basically. Uh, you can then set it to run Master System games through and EverDrive, which is quite nice. So that's the only thing that I'm missing out on this. Otherwise, this is a much better unit all around. Way like the casing feels better, the buttons feel better. It's obviously working, unlike the other one. If you guys didn't know, the first Nomad, when I tried to use the Laser Bear Industries battery, it basically glitched out, only showed like half the screen, and then went black and white and then turned off. Sometimes it was immediate, and other times it was after like 10 minutes of play, depending on the game. On an intensive game like this, it didn't work at all. It sounds so good, you have no idea. I'm not going to play much, but Anyway, so you get the point. You can just sit here and play all day. Anyway, that's a Sega Nomad. If you're curious about it, especially if it's not been released in a region near you, I would definitely recommend it. Just make sure what you're getting yourself into. Per my first system, if the deal is too good to be true, then that's probably the case. So don't. Go ahead and spend your money the right way. Make sure it has an audio mod done. If you care about Master System, make sure it has the Master System mod done. And make sure you ask the buyer if it is modded. If it's been tested with the Laser Bear Industries battery, because for whatever reason, I think it was just improperly getting power for the LCD from an improper place. But basically, make sure that it's working fully, because the last thing you want to do is get your system to come in from the mail like I did, and you can only play your portable via a giant honk of brick. That's not exactly portable. You know what I mean? So in my case, he was not only able to test with the battery, but also with an EverDrive, which was helpful. Apparently that's also, while I didn't have that problem, that is something that some people have had problems with, is their mods working with an EverDrive. So ask questions. Remember, these people are trying to make a sale, and you're trying not to get screwed over. So make sure you're getting what you pay for. That's my advice to you. But seriously, it is a phenomenal piece of kit. I definitely recommend it. It's just wonderful. There's no compromises to this system. It's basically the same size as a Game Gear, except it has proper amount of buttons, a far better D-pad as far as I'm concerned, and the ability to play actual full-size games, including Master System once you mod it, as opposed to the Game Gear, which is basically just a portable Master System. And if you're getting them modded, this is not that awful much more expensive than a modded, nice Game Gear. So maybe rethink your decisions. And then, I don't know if I showed this off or not, but the reason why this is in the background here is because you can get these at Harbor Freight. I don't know if you have Harbor Freights in England, but basically it's China land for tools. And yeah, this is the same as a really expensive Pelican case, except this was literally only $12. It's also watertight and dust proof and all that. And I have a spot for the EverDrive cartridge and the system. I'm going to have to rip out some foam here to make room for the battery pack, because I didn't have that when I first did this. But as you can maybe tell, it's in cube form, so you just rip apart the cubes and it fits right in. And yeah, obviously I can't fit it in with the battery pack, but just as a form of reference for scale, it almost fits with the battery pack, but it would go down further if I cut a hole. So anyway, that's that. Sorry, I keep on hitting the fucking camera. This thing is really unwieldy trying to do the camera work with this chunk of a system. But honestly, the funny thing is that back in the day, this was considered to be too big. This was considered to be rather comical in size. But looking back, I gotta say, this really isn't that much different than a DMG. In fact, I have a DMG around here somewhere, maybe. Oh, I did. Pretty sure somewhere around here. This is the reason why you all are subbed, by the way, for this awesome, terrible content. Well, I don't have that, but you get the idea. I mean, sideways, that looks like a DMG. For scale, here's a PlayStation Mini. It's a little wider than a PlayStation Mini, the same exact height, ironically enough, as a PlayStation Mini and about twice the thickness. So if you have a PlayStation Mini, you basically know how big a Nomad is. Definitely recommend it, like I said. Great system. They made only and sold only 1 million of these things. That's it. So they're getting rarer. If you have any part of you that is interested in these things, my humble advice is to get them now, because the pricing has only doubled and doubled upon that over the last few years. And it's just a phenomenal way to play Genesis. It really is. So pick it up. It's a great system. Definitely get the battery pack if you're interested in that. The battery pack is really cheap. I think he only charges like $50. Frankly speaking, I don't even know if the guy makes any profit on that crap. And he's also a really good stand-up guy. With my first Nomad, when I had problems, he actually took it on the chin and treated it as if he messed up, and said that he was willing to have me send the Nomad and he was just going to fix it. Who else does that? Nobody else does that. Anyway, buy that. Buy these. These are amazing. These aren't like the sour ones you get at the gas station, by the way. They just don't have that crappy powdered sugar all over them. And they're still sour. So, go figure. This is a candy review now. Anyway, goodbye.